Oh, hello. Ed Newhouse here at PNC Park, the home of the two-time defending wild card recipients from the National League. You know, the 2014 season, I think, was a good reason, a good way you can realize what it's like being a Pirates fan and why our expectations are kind of different. You know, for a lot of teams, 2014 was for a lot of teams, 2014 would be a step back because they went from winning the wild card game and going to the division series to not. So they lost, they got killed by the Giants last year. And so a lot of teams would be like, that's a step back, and there would be not much optimism. But you'll see now there's a lot of Pirate fans with a lot of optimism for the coming season. And that gives me a little bit of a preface to my 2015 season preview. I predict the Pirates will go 93-69 and win the National League Central Division. And as I normally do, I'll go down through position by position why I think that's going to be the case. So if you look at it, the big difference, I guess, between this year's team and last year's team is catcher. It's Russell Martin not being there. Now they've filled that hole with Francisco Cervelli, but how good is Francisco Cervelli? That's the question everybody's asking. Francisco Cervelli, offensively, he doesn't have the numbers to stack up against Russell Martin's numbers from last year. Russell Martin, the thing about Russell Martin was he was last year was a career year for Russell Martin offensively. He had one of the best years of his career offensively. Defensively, people always talk about caught stealing percentage. That's an easy thing to look up. Last year, if I remember correctly, Russell Martin had a 32% caught stealing rate. Francisco Cervelli had a 22% caught stealing rate. Not very good. But then you look at other things like pitch framing. That's the thing that a lot of people would credit Russell Martin for having good pitch framing. That's not something that's very easy to quantify. But from what I've read about Francisco Cervelli, he's good at framing pitches. So we'll see about that. As far as catcher is concerned, that's going to be a step down for the Pirates this year. I don't think it's going to be as big of one as people might think, but it's going to be a bit of a step down. But I don't think it's going to be enough to really hurt this team a lot. Then you go to first base. Who do they have last year at first base? That was Gabby Sanchez and Ike Davis, a platoon that really didn't do anything. I'd say definitely below average platoon. Who they're replacing with? Pedro Alvarez and Corey Hart. Pedro Alvarez, when he's on, is one of the best players in baseball. Is he going to be on, though, is the question. He's platooning with Corey Hart, who had some injuries the last few years, but when he's on, he's a very good player. So that has the potential to be a very good platoon for the Pirates this year. Then you look at second base. Neil Walker's back. Neil Walker's Neil Walker. He'll play in like 130 games because he'll invariably get injured and be out 20 games. But, Then you look at the shortstop. Jordy Mercer will be back. Jordy had, compared to the previous season, Jordy's offensive numbers went down last year. He'll be backed up there by most likely Jung Ho Gum, the South Korean guy they signed, who had 40 home runs in the Korean Baseball League last year. Love to see that sort of stuff, but you don't know how he's going to adjust from South Korea to here. You don't know what the difference is between those two leagues, so we'll see there. Third base, Josh Harrison. I'll tell you, I was one of the biggest Josh Harrison doubters there is, because you just didn't have the sample size. My thing about Josh Harrison, though, is every time I said he wouldn't do something, he goes ahead and does it. So we'll see. But yeah, Josh Harrison. I told Joe Brando last year, I was like, if Josh Harrison makes the 2015 All-Star team, I will eat my hat. So we'll see. If I had to predict what Josh Harrison's going to do, I think he's going to have a good year. I think he might hit over 300. I can't predict him having the same success he had last year, just because where's the stats to back that up? Where else did that come from? But so we'll see. Did I turn this off? Good. I thought I turned that off for a second. But so that's Josh Harris. I think that you can expect equal production, or maybe a little bit less out of third base than left field is Marte. Marte had a hell of a year last year. I think his OPS was 805 or something like that. Very good. Hutch in center. Said right field is Gregory Polanco, who did not get out the gate very well last year. But we'll see. Travis Snyder did a good job in right field last year for the Pirates. Actually, he's no longer on the team, so we'll see. But Pirates have one of the best outfields in baseball. Might be the best outfield in baseball. So that'll be fun. Starting pitching, big difference between last year and this year is A.J. Burnett is back. A.J. Burnett essentially replaces Edinson Volquez in the rotation. That's a step up, I would say. Edinson had a good year last year, but he wasn't extremely reliable. They put him in the wild card game. I was okay with that decision, but yeah. So then, who else you got there? You got Burnett. Garrett Cole is Garrett Cole. Jeff Locke will be starting the year in the rotation. You don't know if he'll be there in September. Charlie Morton, just news came out today. Charlie Morton's injured. He's on the DL, so he's being replaced by Vance Worley. And then that leaves Francisco Liriano also in the rotation. Francisco is Francisco, so we'll see what he does this year. Relief pitching should be better. I think relief pitching should be better. They picked up Antonio Bastardo from the Phillies, so that'd be nice to have another guy. Tony Watson had a hell of a year last year, really came into his own. So love it if he can get minutes. Last year, I think the biggest problem for the Pirates was their bullpen. If they can make that a strength instead of a weakness, this is one of the best teams in baseball. Buster only predicted the Pirates to make the World Series. I don't know if I'll go that far, or win the World Series. I don't know if I'll go that far, but like I said, this team's got. That's the great thing about this team. They have pieces. They have guys that you can trust. I was saying the other day, this lineup, there's nobody in this lineup where if they came up, I'd be like, oh man, we're done. We're not going to get a run this inning. Solid 1 to 9. Nice lineup. So, anyhow, like I said, I think they're going to do a little bit better than last year just because I think the relief pitching is going to be a bit better. Yeah, so we'll see. But it's a great time to be a Pirates fan. How about that? From PNC Park, I'm in Newhouse.